I was also like freaking out. So I just like floored it and flew back out of the garage, ran into the fence, and I was like,
I don't care. It's an old car. They'll never know.
welcome back to my channel, guys. Today I wanted to do a story time for you. Now this happened whenever I was, I want to say 17 years old, close to 18, but I was 17. And it was during a time when I was with a boy. He was my boyfriend, and needless to say, my parents did not like him, rightfully so. But before we get into it, why don't you go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and then leave a comment right below. Okay, so it was 2013, I believe. I was 17 years old. It was my senior year in high school, and I was dating this guy who was not the nicest. My family didn't like him, my friends didn't like him, I was starting not to like him. In my video about relationship red flags, I kind of talk a little bit about some of the things he did, so if you want to watch that, I'll leave a link to that below also. But anyway, I had been dating this guy for about a year now. Yeah. We were going through a period of time where my parents told me, you can't see each other, I don't like how he treats you, he's not allowed to come over to the house, you're not allowed to go to his house, I don't want y'all talking to each other, whatever. So basically it's like we were grounded from each other. But my parents didn't know what else to do, you know? It was like, we have this person who's with our daughter treating her so poorly. What else can we do if she's not gonna break up with him? I guess we can forbid her to see him. So that's what was going on. And this was a night where my parents went out to some concert thing. And my parents never leave the house, so it was very rare that I got to stay home by myself anyway. And so my parents left, and literally I was being a good child, I swear to God, no lying here. I was in my room, I was folding all my laundry, watching TV. That's it. Then all of a sudden, I got a text message from my boyfriend saying, what are you doing? And I was like, doing laundry. And then he said, I'm gonna come over. And I was like, that's not a good idea, because one, you're not supposed to, and two, my parents aren't here, and that is a big no-no. So my parents were the type that I guess you could say were pretty strict. They weren't crazy, but they did have rules. I couldn't date till I was a certain age. I couldn't have my boyfriend or boys at all in my room. And I definitely couldn't have any boys in my room with the door shut. I couldn't have my boyfriend spend the night. I couldn't spend the night at his house. So it was very like cut and dry. This is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And one of the rules I knew for sure was your boyfriend cannot come over if we are not home. Okay. So he was like, I'm coming over. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea because my parents aren't here and we're not supposed to see each other right now. And he was like, well, I'm already halfway there. So I'm thinking, okay, great. What am I gonna do? And I was like, you know what? They're about 45 minutes away at a concert. It's gonna last a while. I think I have time. He can come over, we can just see each other for a little bit and then he can go home. So he comes over, I'm like, why are you here? He's just like, I had to see you. This is driving me crazy. I just had to come over and see you and talk to you. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, it's just fine. So we're in my room, which is, you know, a big no-no. But I'm like, you wanna help me fold laundry? So he helped me fold my clothes and we were watching TV and we were just hanging out. So after a few things concurred, I got a text from my mom and I'm thinking, oh God, what is this gonna say? So I open the text and it says, I know he's there. And I'm like, what? Mind you, we don't have cameras outside of our house. We didn't have cameras inside our house. We don't even have neighbors that we really talk to that much. So I was like, how does she know? Maybe she just has like that mom feeling, you know what I mean? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I know he's there. My heart started pounding and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be in so much trouble. He's gonna be in so much trouble. We're never gonna see each other again. I was like, you have to go now. My mom knows you're here and I don't know how she knows, but she knows you gotta go. And he was like, I don't wanna leave you. I can't leave you. I don't know when I'm gonna see you again. And I was like, no, you have to leave. Then I get another text from my mom and she's like, he's still there, he needs to go home. And I'm like, how does she know this? How does she know this? She can't see me, but she like knows everything that's going on. Is she like outside my window staring in like what the hell is going on? And so I'm like, you gotta go, like just leave. And he starts freaking out and he's like, I have to be with you. I don't want to leave you. Maybe we could leave together. And I'm like, no, that's not a good idea. You just go home. I'll figure it out. Just go home. And he's like, we can run away. We could run away together. He's literally saying, we could run away together. And I was like, run away? Where are we gonna go? And he was like, I don't know, we can figure it out. It felt like such a stupid movie moment, but he was literally saying that. And I was like, no, we're not gonna run away, just go home, please. And by this time, we had made it to the front door, and I get a text from my dad. And he's like, if that boy isn't off my property, I'm coming home. And I was like, how do they know? How do they know? And so I was like, go home, just leave. I was so panicked and he was panicked. He was like shaking and he was like, I don't want to leave you. I don't know when I'm going to see you again. And I was like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Just leave. So finally he gets in his car and he leaves. And so now I'm thinking, they think I invited him over and I'm gonna be in so much trouble because I had a boy come over when they were not home, and I don't know how they know he was here, and if they could see through my window, then they'd be mad about some other things too. But then I'm like, I can't be here when they get home. I can't. They're gonna be so mad at me. I'm gonna be in so much trouble. I have to leave. Where am I gonna go? First of all, so this is not even the crazy part of the story at all. This is just the backstory to the story that I'm getting to. So, I'm in full panic mode. I have no idea what I even think is going to happen to me. Like, the worst that could happen is them be like, you're grounded from your cell phone. In my head, though, I was in so much trouble. I was just prepared for the worst. And so, I was like, I have to leave. Now, at this point in my life, I did not have a license, okay? I was scared to drive, so I wanted to wait as long as possible to get my driver's license. So I didn't have my license, I didn't have my own car, I didn't have anywhere to go. But in my head, I was like, I gotta go. I can't be here when they get home. So, me in full on panic, I run out into the garage, I get into my dad's old beat up car that we hardly ever drove, and I just take off out of the garage. I didn't have shoes on, I didn't have my seatbelt on, and I didn't have a license. So our driveway was a little weird because our neighbor had put a fence between our driveway and his driveway. So it was like this fence here and then our garage up here. And so to back out of our garage, you had to back up, go forward, back up, go forward, and then back up and go forward again and then go out the driveway because there was so little room. And I had never done that before because I had hardly ever driven. And I was also like freaking out. So I just like floored it and flew back out of the garage, ran into the fence, and I was like, I don't care. It's an old car. They'll never know. And then I pulled forward and I ran into the side of the garage with the front of the car. And I was like, it's fine. And then I back up again into the fence and then I just take off down the driveway. I left the garage door open. I left the house unlocked. I didn't have a license. I didn't have shoes on. And it's nighttime. So I just start driving. And I'm thinking, I don't know where I'm gonna go. I guess I could go to my best friend's house. She lives like 10 minutes away. So I'm on my way to her house. I'm trying to take all the back roads because I've never been on the highway before. And I call her, I'm like, are you home? I need to come over. And of course she's like, no, I'm not home. I'm out to eat. I'm with my brother and sister. And I'm like, okay, where are you? So she tells me what restaurant she's at. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna come there. Why? It's not like I can go inside. I don't have my shoes or anything, but I'm just like, I'm gonna come there. As I'm driving down these dark country roads, I'm from Texas originally. So a lot of the areas are like nowhere. I was driving down this dark road and I'm thinking, why can't I see anything? It's so dark. And then I realized I'm driving without my lights on, which you can get pulled over for, okay? So if I were to get pulled over, it'd be like, why don't you have your lights? Let me see your license. Oh, you don't have a license? Oh, you're also driving without your shoes on? That could have been so bad. But I was like, oh, I don't have my lights on. Better turn those on. So I turn the lights on and I make it to the restaurant that my friend is at. And so I tell her, I'm outside, I can't come in, but I just can't be home because I think I'm gonna get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. And so she's like, okay, when I'm done eating, I'll bring you like some food to the car. And I was just like, okay, I guess I'll wait for you. So as I'm sitting in the car, I get a call from my older brother, which is kind of weird because he hardly ever calls me. So I'm thinking, how does my whole family know what just happened? He didn't live at home. He lived in his own house with his own family. He was like nowhere close by. So my brother called and I'm like, hello? And he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, he knows too. And I was like, I don't want to go home. I'm going to get in so much trouble. And he was like, look, my brother's like a really calm guy. So he hardly like ever gets fazed unless it's really dramatic. But he was like, look, just go back home. Park the car exactly where it was when you left, put all the mirrors back where they were, put the seat back where it was, and then don't tell mom and dad that you left. And I was like, but I'm gonna get in so much trouble, da da da. And he's like, it's not gonna be that bad. I'll talk to them. And so as I'm on the phone having this conversation, this car next to me is trying to park, right? So it's me and then an empty parking spot here, and this car is pulling in to park here. But all of a sudden, the car parking runs into my car. So I look at them and I'm thinking, what else could happen to me tonight? I might have a huge dent in the car and my parents are gonna know that I left. I'm on the phone with my brother still, and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, what happened? And I'm like, a car just ran into me in the parking lot. And my brother's like, get the hell out of there and go home. And so the lady got out of her car and she looked at me like, are you okay? I'm so sorry. And I was, at this point, I didn't want to get in trouble at all. I didn't know what to do if I got in a wreck or an accident or something. Like, now I know, ask for their insurance, blah, blah, blah. But at this point, I was like, I don't know how to do any of that, and I don't have a license. I could get in trouble from this person. Maybe, I don't know, what if they call the cops? A bunch of stuff was running through my head, okay? And so I looked at the lady out the window with, like, pure panic on my face, and I was like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And she was like, are you sure? I was like, it's fine. And I just did not care that the car had been run into. I got out and looked, and thank God there was no dent. So I don't even think my parents would even recognize like what happened or realize. So I told my brother, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go home. Yeah, you talk to them, tell them please don't be mad at me. I didn't tell him to come to the house. It was all his idea, whatever. So then my friend comes out of the restaurant. She's like, I brought you lemonade. I'm like, thank you. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna go home and I'm not gonna tell them that I left the house, because then it's like I had a boy over without them knowing that I wasn't supposed to be seeing. And then also I left the house without a license and I never drive. So it was like a whole mixture of just a bad situation. I'm driving home, and as I'm driving home, I'm drinking my lemonade, and I'm like, oh God, this cup is evidence. I was so scared. I'm like, the cup is evidence that I left the house. And I was like, what do I do with it? And so I just rolled down the window and chucked my whole lemonade out the window. And then I swerved and like missed a curb. And I was like, oh my God, literally there could have been so many moments during this whole night of me driving around that could have been so bad. I don't know like how I made it through without anything like horrible happening. But anyway, so I finally got home. I parked the car back where it was as much as I could. I put the mirrors back. I like scooped the seat back more, and I'm like, okay, they're never gonna know. So I go in my room and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pretend to be asleep when they get home, so then I won't get in trouble. That was so dumb. But yeah, so I get in bed and then I like pretend to go to sleep, and probably like 15 minutes later my parents get home. And then my mom comes in my room and she's like, Shelby, get up. And I'm like, oh, damn. They didn't believe it for a second. But out of all that I was fearing, I didn't even really get in trouble. I just explained myself. They were just basically like, we don't want him talking to you. We don't want you talking to him. He's not supposed to be here. We wanted him to go home. And so I didn't get in trouble. But I was still like, how did you know that he was here? And my mom kept saying, I'm not gonna tell you. So then a couple years later, I asked my mom, I was like, so how did you know that he was actually here? And she was like, you really want to know? And I was like, yeah, how did you know? And so she was like, I called the neighbor that lives across the street and I asked her, is there a certain type of car in front of our house? Because I knew that once we left, he was probably going to come over. And I was like, wow, moms really do know. But yeah, so she called the neighbor, and the neighbor was literally looking out the window to see if his car was there. And so then my mom would call again and be like, is the car still there? And the lady was like, yep, it's still there. So the moral of the story is, I guess, yeah, don't drive without a license unless it's a pure emergency, which in my case it was not, but in my head it seemed like it was. But yeah, my parents had no idea I ever left the house until one day I was just like, do you want to hear a funny story? And I told them, and my mom actually thought it was so funny. So thankfully I didn't get in trouble for that either. But yeah, every time I think back to this story, I'll have to laugh at how dramatic it felt in the moment. It's like everything was falling apart and it was so bad and I was just gonna be in so much trouble in my head in that moment. And then now it's like the dumbest thing ever and I acted so ridiculous, but thank God nothing bad happened to me and I made it back home safe. But yeah, if you guys like this story and you want me to do other story times, I have a lot of things that I could tell. If you like this type of video, let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will have more stuff coming your way. Thanks for watching, you guys. Love you.